Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin and EOS. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase, guys. And Bitcoin is, last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin had run up into the supply zone here. I told you this is more than likely where it was going to find resistance. That's exactly what happened. I told you as it was sitting up here, guys, we'd very likely see it see price come back down for a retest, possibly coming as low as 63.60, the prior support. We didn't see it come back down that low. It actually hit the top of this prior area back in here. Came back down, found support right around 63.70, so we're about $10 shy of our target, but hey, you know, take what we can get, guys. Price came back down, nice bounce off that area, guys. We're back into this supply zone here. Created a lower high, which, you know, does tell me we may get a possible second retest, possibly coming back down for a double bottom right in this area, and then right back, taken right back off again. We'll have to wait and see how that ends up playing out, guys. It does look to me, one of the things that is concerning me, number one, is we do have very low volume, relatively speaking. We're still sitting at about 4.4 billion on the day, which relatively speaking is extremely low. So that means that this market can still be highly manipulated very, very easily. And one of the things that we're keeping an eye on, as you guys know, if we come over here and we look at the 4-hour chart, we bring up our shorts, we can see that short positions continue to follow off the board at a very rapid pace. Long positions continue to stack. So, you know, this does, when I told you last time longs have outpaced shorts, that happened for the first time in a long time, and that spread continues, where longs continue to outpace shorts, and it's getting to be a fairly significant spread at this point. If this does continue with that low volume, guys, that's going to leave this ripe for a stop hunt, you know, of course, this time, instead of it being a short squeeze, we're going to see longs get liquidated, and of course, to liquidate longs, what's going to happen? They have to bring price right back down. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. This has been a nice, healthy rise. In fact, we've seen this, you know, every time it's hit our target. Price came back up, came back down for a perfect retest, back up, back down for this perfect retest again, back up, back down for this perfect retest. I mean, every single time we've had this very nice, healthy correction all the way up here, guys. So a deeper correction, we're almost due for it. Now let's wait and see if that ends up playing out. I'm not sure it will, but as of right now, guys, it does look like we're going to come back down and at least retest the top of this zone here at about 63.70, possibly 63.60. If 63.60 breaks down, I think we're coming back down into this zone right down here, guys, down to about 63.15 to about 63.25, somewhere in here if 63.60 does break down. Now, of course, we're not there yet. Now, it is also possible we come back down, have a double bottom, very nice strong bounce. Of course, we need to take out, excuse me, guys, we need to take out this supply zone here, guys, the top of which sits at about 64.96, somewhere thereabouts, guys. If we can get above that, of course, we're going to take a shot at that point. I think we'll take a shot at this 65.40. And as you know, last time, guys, I told you 65.40 is an extremely relevant resistance. If we can get above 65.40 with consolidation, I'm going to start to get extremely, extremely, extremely bullish. Now, the only thing I'm going to be careful with, guys, is if that does happen and we don't get an influx of new money, or in other words, if we don't get an influx of volume, a very significant increase in volume, of course, that's going to signal to me that a possible stop hunt is I should say a stop hunt is very, very possible. If longs continue to stack, shorts continue to fall off the board, you know, very likely we're going to see market makers liquidate all those shorts. Now, I do think retail investors, as we've been discussing, are much smarter than they were. So if they start to see a massive stop hunt here, I think, of course, they're going to get out and take their profits very, very quickly. So I don't think if we do get a stop hunt, I doubt it's going to go much lower than about 63 or 62.35. Maybe this wick down here at about 6,200, somewhere thereabouts, guys. That doesn't mean, even if we get a stop hunt, that doesn't mean that that this thing is going to reverse course and we're coming back down to all-time lows. We are still trading within this range, guys. The bottom of the range is 61.15. Top of the range is 67.50. Now, those are the major resistance and the major support. Really, the low of this range is about $6,040. This wick down here, and the top are these two wicks right here. This double top we had right here, and that's on Coinbase. That sits at about 68.10. If you look at if you average all the exchanges together, that's about 6,800-ish, somewhere thereabouts. So if we can break above 6,800, guys, of course, that's gonna break this bearish trend that we've been in. Or I shouldn't say a bearish trend. That's gonna break this pattern that we've been in, this series of lower highs, higher lows. That's gonna break that pattern, guys, and of course, then may go on to establish a new pattern. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. but it certainly would be a very bullish sign if we can break above 6,800. Be a very, very bearish sign if 6,040 does break down. So let's wait until we break one of those, guys. All we can do is trade this range, and as I keep telling you every time, guys, you don't want to go in heavy at all. I mean, this is not financial advice, but if you're planning on holding for a for a year or two, if you're looking at buying and going long, by long again, I mean like a year or two, even 6 months to a year, slowly start dollar cost averaging in. That's not a bad idea. If you're a day and or swing trader, it's very risky, guys, to play this range right now. Very risky. We are still seeing things tighten tighter and tighter here. Still technically breaking above 65.40 is a great place to short, all the way up to 67.50. There's a lot of people that may enter short positions here. We'll wait and see what happens when it does get to that point, if it does get to that point. And there's a lot of people that are in long positions if it gets below 62.35 down to 61.15. As I've been telling you guys, that is the range. Right now we're sitting dead heat right in the middle of that, guys, and we continue to get that series of lower highs, higher lows, which tells me we may get a much larger move here to come very, very soon. We come over here and we look at our moving averages. This is on the 4-hour chart. We can see that price came up, broke above this 200-day moving average, guys. That 200-day moving average has been acting as support here. If we do hold above that 200-day moving average, guys, obviously that's going to be a sign of strength, a very big sign of strength, guys. We'll wait and see how this does hold. But right now, things are looking fairly good, even though we are looking at a possible retesting this area. As long as price stays above the 8-day EMA, or certainly above the 200-day moving average, guys, the bulls are still winning the day, at least here in the short term. Looking on the daily chart, we can see we're finding resistance on this 50-day moving average, guys, but we are above the 200-day EMA. And as I told you guys, breaking above the 200-day EMA is very significant. That usually signals a momentum shift. Now we can see 3 days later after breaking above, or 2 days later after breaking above, this is the third day, I should say, this has still maintained a rather bullish count. We have still maintained the gains that we've gotten, and the bulls are still fairly, all things considered, in the short term, are still in control. But let's wait and see if we can, on the daily chart, break above this 55-day EMA. If we can break above the 55-day EMA, guys, then we may see a continuation of that. Certainly, at least above this 50-day moving average, we may see a continuation of this, guys. So we'll just kind of wait and watch this, guys. But right now, I would at least not go in heavy on any position at all. I would be very, very cautious and protective of your money until that new pattern is established. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap Bitcoin there. Looking at EOS, we can see that EOS has continued to rise again, much like Bitcoin, guys. We're having this step pattern where price comes up, comes back down, retests the support, comes back up, or the prior resistance, or this prior order block. Didn't even come back down. Actually, didn't even hit this prior order block down here. We came back up, very bullish break right back up. Then it broke back down, guys. Then it did test the prior resistance, came back up, broke back down. Told you guys last time, as EOS was up in this area, last time we spoke, I told you that very likely we're going to come down and test this support. What was resistance, it should act as support, and it did. We had this nice bounce off 65.45, little wick right through it, but we can accept that. Nice bounce off 65.45, and actually this bounce took us up and above this supply zone here, the top of which was about $5.63. That's a rather bullish sign of strength, guys. Now it looks to me like we are going to see possible price come back down, at least retest this this $5.63 support. What was resistance will act as support, but very likely I think we may come back down and retest the bottom of this area here, which again was resistance, should act as support. That's at about 550, maybe even as low as 545. But as long as that does hold, guys, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic for the short term. If we come over here and we look at the excuse me, guys. We look at this pattern, obviously, on price. We've created a series of higher highs. We look at the MACD. This is why we've been able to call these pullbacks here. Every time we've got MACD has created a lower low, or excuse me, a lower high. So higher highs on price, lower highs on the MACD. That's bearish divergence, guys. And this is no exception. Price came up here. Of course, we created a lower high here on the MACD. So again, that does suggest a pullback, again, possibly down to the bottom of this zone, which sits at about 550, 545, somewhere in that area. As long as that holds, guys, I have no problem with that. If $5.45 does break, at that point, I think we're more than likely coming back down to at least 526. So let's wait and see kind of how this works out, guys. But right now, we can see the RSI is just a little oversold right at the top actually of the oversold area, but it does look like a possible pullback and then a possible bounce here at about either at 563, or if that does break down, I'd watch for that bounce at about 550, 545. Now, if we can get that strong bounce, decisively break above on the retest, break above this supply zone here, and then shoot back up, I do think it'll be a very quick rise to about 592 to 606, this supply zone up here. Get rid of this so you guys can see a little better right up here, and this is going to be a very strong supply zone between $5.92 and $6, 606 really. This is the area that has to be taken out if we are to establish a new pattern, guys. This is the top of this area here. This has to be taken out, and as I showed you guys, that we are continuing on EOS just like Bitcoin to create a series of lower highs and higher lows. In fact, if I pull out here to the daily chart, kind of zoom out a little bit, you guys can see it. There we go, and I pointed this out last time. Just want to reiterate for those new viewers, we can see that price is consolidating, lower highs, higher lows. We can see a squeeze pattern, price is getting squeezed, and of course, where do we watch for that possible larger move? We watch this apex right in here, the apex of this this wedge pattern that we're entering into now. So we are expecting a larger move here in the next week or two. Very likely we'll see a very strong impulsive move in one direction or another. And right now, as I said, guys, it is the bulls do look like they're taking control. Doesn't mean they are in full control. Certainly they are not. This is still trading within this range. Top of this range, as I said, is 606. The bottom of this range sits now at about 505, $5, somewhere thereabouts, guys. And so until we do break above or below, we have not broken out of this pattern. We have not established a new pattern, and we are still trading within a range. So keep that in mind, guys. Same principle applies as with Bitcoin. Very small scalp trades if you are going to trade this at all. But the smart money, in my opinion, is going to wait on the side unless you're planning on holding this for the long term. At least 6 months, very likely more like a year or so. If you're planning on doing that, then a slow dollar cost average in makes sense. If you're planning on day and or swing trading, guys, I'd be very hesitant to go in, really go in at all, but very hesitant to go in heavy until we do get a new pattern established, guys. Remember, the name of the game is protecting your money and having money to make money with going forward. Once we establish that new bull trend, once that bull run does start, I think there's going to be so much opportunity to make money, guys. It's just, even if you don't catch the bottom, no big deal. You'll have money to make money going forward. But if by some means you don't catch the bottom and you buy up here and this thing ends up tanking and you lose that money, guys, you're not going to have that money to take advantage of going forward. So it's all about protecting your money, guys. We do not gamble. A lot of people, they just think trading is gambling, and if you are just blindly buying, then it is gambling. But if you're trading smart and you have a plan, and you have your stop loss in place, and then it's not gambling. Then, of course, you can make consistent money, but it does require a ton of discipline. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get off my soapbox. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.